What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to part 2 of the Brembo Brake GTR upgrade for the S15. So, last time you saw me, I was removing the hub here, and in doing so, I damaged my axle. So now I've got the new diff in, it's ready to go, and we can put the new GTR axle in and we can carry on with the brake upgrade. So our GTR hubs have arrived, so we can continue with mounting our drum assembly that we've painted, cleaned, prepped, ready to go, and then ultimately mount our final rotor on the ground there, but also our disc, so we can get this looking like a whole wheel again. Now the rears are a little bit more trickier than just doing the fronts, but thankfully we don't need to drill out the knuckle hole, the caliper bolt holes for this, but it does get a little bit complicated with the handbrake cable. So right now we have got our stock S15 handbrake cables in, and it meets up right there in the middle on that bracketry. So now there is a cable that runs from the cabin to this, and that is your handbrake cable. So our first step is going to be loosening off in the cabin our handbrake cable that runs to this bracket, and then that way we can take these off and get our new cables in. Now we start by removing this cable, which doesn't look very good, but there we go. We get our handbrake cover off, and this leaves us with the mech, which currently has got no resistance at all because our lines are disconnected at the back. So this little bolt here, I believe it's a 10 mil. We'll loosen this off all the way because this is how you tension your handbrake cable. So we'll loosen that off, leave that down like that, and then we can get our cable off. Then when we set the drums, we can leave this on our furthest away setting and then tighten and fine tune from there. We've got this loosened off all the way now, so let's get underneath the car. Now I am extremely sunburned on my back right now because I went to the beach yesterday. Oh, and this is so much worse than it normally is. Ouch. So now from underneath the car, we obviously don't have our tail shaft in at the moment because that is getting extended, but it gives us easy access now, so if you have that in, obviously take it out. So here is our entry from the cabin. This should be loose now, which it is, which will allow us to work with this a lot easier. We've got two 12mm bolts here, using your impact, which, oh, he's got a chrome socket. Where, that's what you sound like. There you go, look at that. Didn't break it. We remove these two nuts. We can unclip this here, which is a little retainer that holds the cable in. There's another one at the back there, and that leaves this free so this side can come off. We do the same with the other side, and then so now we can push this forward and get these to slide out. And just like that, they're both free. So where your diff is and you've got your axles, which is out currently, there is a little 10mm bolt here that attaches the handbrake cables to the subframe. So getting your 10mm ratchet spanner, you can loosen this one off and then our cable should come out. Now our handbrake cable should pull out like that. So, just like the fronts, we've got our dust shield that goes behind the actual disc. So, because these GTR rotors are so big, and these are actually off a R33 GTST, which had smaller brakes, we're gonna do the same thing and cut this outer lip off here, and then that way it'll sit behind the rotor and it'll be all fine. We'll give it a bit of a clean up and probably hit it with some paint too. What a length it has been to get to this step, but now we get to do my favorite thing of all time, and that is cut up S chassis and R chassis parts, because it just feels so wrong but yet so right, especially when you're doing it for upgrades. So let's get to it. so as you can see, we've got our two drum brake assemblies cut now. We've got sharp edges here, so what we can do is change our disc over from a cutting disc to a flapper disc, and then that way we'll take those edges off there, get it nice and smooth. So we'll hit it with some paint after and make it look as good as it's going to get for something that gets covered in brake dust. Gotta have pride in your work. That is a very good life lesson. Again, make sure you always have your safety squints on. And this is what our finished product looks like. So nice and clean, and we'll do the same with the other one. Not gonna film that because it's just boring, but we'll hit this with a wire wheel, and then I'm just gonna paint it. Again, not gonna film that. That's pretty self-explanatory, but looks 10 times better already. So here is our dust shield now, looking nice and clean. We've got our nice straight edge. So the drum assembly here has got a stud that sticks out the back, which goes into the hub assembly here. Even on S chassis already, they come factory like that, even though they don't use it on their S chassis hub. But because of that reason, this hole often gets filled with rust, surface rust. So if you hit that with a wire wheel brush like this, and then also I just finish it off with a little bit of sandpaper and a bolt just to clean it out, and hopefully it should be enough now for us to slot. There we go, that in like that. Alrighty, our GTR hubs have arrived, so our axles will now bolt to our hub assembly with these hubs, but we do have to do a little trick to them to make them work with our R33 GTST drum brake assembly. This is a GTR hub. I think there's some model stages that it's compatible, but this, basically the spline on the inside here is compatible with our GTR shafts. It's different to S chassis, unfortunately. But the thing that stands out with this compared to the S chassis hub is it has this material here. If you can see this knob that sticks out from the top of the hub. I believe the GTR drum brake assembly is slightly different to the GTST assembly, and that's why this is different. But if you want to run this GTR hub on a R33 GTST Skyline drum brake assembly, you have to cut this little lip out. So using YouTube magic, just like that. Now I use a grinder to do this and a flapper disc, cut it all up. So we get that pattern for the R33 GTST drum brake assembly, and also just the normal S chassis setup. So now let's see if it fits. Now if there's one thing I enjoy more in life than cutting up S chassis pieces, it is cutting up GTR parts instead. Now I'm trying to do this in a way that is very lazy and slack, and involves me in not taking this drum assembly apart because I hate drum assemblies. There we go. That's what we're looking for. So I've left the axle out to make things a lot easier. And I've left everything loose, including the nut that goes on the back of the drum assembly. That way I can line everything up with a lot of play. And then that way it wasn't locked in the wrong spot, so I couldn't get my bolts in. But yeah, one at a time, leave them loose, make sure they're all in. And now we've got everything going. So now I can do everything up. Now the hub assembly is mounted with our drum brake setup. Everything is on, the bearing spinning nice and free, and there's no play at all. So we painted it, made it look all nice. It's gonna be covered by disc brake anyway, and like I said, you can actually cut the whole thing off. This is how we've done it. I'm gonna get to putting the axle in before I get too carried away, and then that way I can mount the disc on. So let's do that, because I probably should have put the axle in before all I mounted the hub, because now it's gonna be fun, but I do like making things difficult, so. Here's an update. I ended up taking every arm off because this job actually sucks and it would not go in anyway. So I had to take the hub off, taking all my arms off, traction, camber arm, and anyway, I'm gonna see if this way works instead. But I'm not having it right now, but I cracked it, did it this way, now let's put it back together. Far out. Not gonna lie, this nearly defeated me, and it's in now, and I apologize for not filming all of it, but I just got in the zone because I spent hours trying to do this. But now we have got our GTR hub in that's modified to fit in with the drums, and the axle is in. In the end, what I ended up doing was I took the drum shoes apart. So spring, and then there's these two releases. If it opened up, hub went in. With the axle, I had a lot more play, and that's the way that I ended up lining it up. But wow, that was not fun. So the other side I didn't have to do that, but this side I did. So that is not fun, but it's in now, so I don't have to worry about that ever again. And I didn't film it, so apologies. So now we are here ready to mount our caliper onto our disc. And what hardware we're going to use for that, that's the question. So on forums I saw that it said it was an M10 by 35 1.5 thread, and I actually got that, and I've installed the other side and was having a look, and it's actually too long. So what I've got is M10 by 30 1.5 mil, and we're going to try this now. Make sure you get a high tensile rating bolt, because these will be under a lot of stress. Normal bolt may actually shear off. M10 by 1.5 mil by 30. Don't have to do any drilling into the hub or anything for this. These will actually just go straight in, but make sure you get the right thread pitch. Don't forget your spring washer. So there we have it, our brake mounted for the final time. I think it's going to be a bit hard to see, but there's the hardware in there. So now we get our factory line. Again, you can get GK Tech hardline kits, but that'll go in there. Put our little retainer in there after we do this straight up. I'll put a little bit of sealant on that, do it up, and then this is done. We are finally making some progress. Time to connect these up, and then that way we can get the tail shaft back in. But as you can see, they're a little bit, you can make it work. Everything is not going to be perfect, obviously, because it's from a Skyline to a Silvia, but it's close enough with R33 GTST cables. So make sure you clip these bad boys back in, secure it, and then that way it's out of the way from the tail shaft. So this is pretty self-explanatory, so I will show you when it's done. Looks, oh yeah mate, how beautiful is that? We still got this loose because we can adjust this in the cabin, but we want to be able to adjust the drum component of it, make sure it's just not grabbing, that way we can get the most out of this handbrake. Just me, does that look like Squidward's house from SpongeBob? I don't know. I will get help one day, but not today. Anyway, to the cabin. Hello from the cabin. The handbrake has now been adjusted. There is a little 10 mil nut there that I was showing you, I think at the start of the video. That is now adjusted, and we check the rear wheels to see if it's dragging, and then there's a little hole in the rotor that you line up with the little clicker thing. Sure, it's got a name for it. You can adjust that. You just want it to be touching, and then you back it off about 3 clicks, I believe. And then your drum brake is set up, ready to go. So this is all done now in the cabin, and all that's left now is to bleed the brakes. Now, I'm not gonna show you how to bleed brakes because that's boring and most people know how to do that, but in case you didn't know, on this setup here, because we've got 2 bleed ports, obviously you want to make sure that they are at the top. You want to start from the outside bleed port, bleed it all the way through, and then you do a couple times on the inside one just to get all the air out. Your master cylinder is on the left side, so you start at the furthest point. So you start at the rear left because it's the furthest away, then you go to the rear right, then you go to your front left, and then you go to finishing at your front right. But these are now all bled and ready to go, and oh my goodness, what a mission this has been. So for something that started as a quick swap, this definitely snowballed while doing the GTR diff at the same time as doing these brakes. I apologize if the videos just turn out like absolute garbage, because I was trying to film so many different videos at the same time. But if you made it to the end of this, I really appreciate it, and I hope I have given you the confidence to do this conversion yourself. If I can do it, then I'm sure you can do it. All jokes aside, I'm very happy with how this has turned out. It looks absolutely awesome, and I'm rambling on so much right now, and I'm aware. Just quickly, if you want to note one thing, I still have my factory brake master cylinder, which I'm sure a few of you have probably commented on. In the forums, I've seen people say, you do have to change it, you don't have to change it. I'm not changing it at this point. I'm going to test drive it, see how it goes, and then I will change it after accordingly. Because everything is expensive and it adds up, and I have multiple cars, and anyway, if you were wondering about that, there's me addressing it there. As always, if you made it to the end of the video, thank you. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Stay tuned for more content, because we will be driving this probably in the next one and testing how the brakes go. So really appreciate it, and I'll see you very shortly.